Well, hello there. Welcome. Believe it or not, they finally just ended for the day in the Murdaugh trial. And that was crazy, honestly. I have to tell you, I have not been following. It's weird. It's not showing that I'm live. I'm just checking one thing real quickly. Okay, here we go. Great. Um Please hit the like and subscribe if you're here. Um, I haven't followed the Murdaugh case closely. I've just been following the trial. And so, I don't have like a encyclopedic knowledge of this case. But I'm going to say this about what is it? Hey, Rasputin. Hey, Amazing 80. Hey, Allie. I'm going to say this after watching this man testify and the things that he's been testifying about. And first of all, why is it that his name is spelled Alex, but some people call him Alec and other people call him Alex? I don't get that. It must be just a, family nickname type of thing. Anyway, I don't know if this guy's guilty, but he represents everything that's wrong about privilege in America. All right? That's what I'm going to say about that. This guy held a badge in his car because he was a volunteer assistant solicitor. And, after his great grandpa and his grandpa and his dad, hey, Samantha, were all those positions. And then he didn't feel, I guess, when his dad retired, he didn't want to take on that position. So he didn't take it, but he was an assistant volunteer one, which gave him a badge. And in the car that his law firm paid for, they installed lights, like cop car lights in his car, and he would put his badge in the cup holder whenever he was pulled over. And then they get into all of the stealing that he did from all of his clients, and it's absolutely grotesque. And they're going through every single one of them, and every time they ask him, so you're sitting here today telling us that you lied and you stole from these people, and what the prosecutor was trying to do was get him to single out one specific conversation that he had with one of these clients where he sat across from the table with them and misled them, and how he was able to do that. And it was a powerful line of questioning because he's clearly sitting there in front of the jury, doing his thing, doing his lying thing. In my view, this guy is a lifelong skilled liar, manipulator. This guy has been doing this for so long that it's just second nature to him. It's actually in his nature. I don't, he's sitting there admitting that he did all of these things, but he's only started admitting those things since he got freaking caught. He didn't just come out, just gain a conscience one day and say, okay, now I feel bad. I've been stealing from all these clients. I'm sorry. No, he got caught. And all this other stuff started happening with this boat and, all this other stuff. But having said all of that, I don't know if that, does that prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he killed his wife and child? I don't know. That's why it's so, that's why these cases are so difficult. And that's why, people are so manipulative, are so skillful at manipulating people, and they get on the stand and they can, even potentially manipulate a jury and, manipulate the police. this is a fun fact and something that I learned in my work at the Center for Humane Technology and in the humane technology movement, is that any human being, even if you have the highest IQ in the entire universe, can be manipulated, can be fooled by another person. And so none of us, not one of us, are immune to manipulation. Not the police, not, nobody is. And so that's one thing I want to try to instill in everybody, that it's something to, since we spend so much time online, and since we spend so much time being influenced by people online, it's and a lot of people also get influenced into paying money to people online and putting all of their support into people online. um, it's important to know when that manipulation isn't real, when you are being manipulated. So anyway, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. Thank you for joining. What we're here to talk about today is yet another case, and I've talked a lot about this in previous videos. Yet another case where a person, a TikToker, decided in the Idaho 4 case that she was just going to come out and start making baseless accusations that a professor from the University of Idaho ordered the killings of Ethan, Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana. And she didn't just come out and, hint around about it. She didn't just say, I think maybe, or look, this might be suspicious. No, she made multiple TikToks about this, and she was unequivocal about it. She said that these killings were ordered. She said that the killings were ordered for a specific reason. I'm going to show you some of the content that she put up there. And in case you aren't familiar with with the trajectory here, so she put up all these TikToks and was accusing this woman, Rebecca Schofield, a professor, of being part of these murders. Then Rebecca Schofield sued her toward the end of December, and that was before Brian Kohberger got arrested. If you recall, Brian Kohberger got arrested on December 30th, right? So right before the end of the year. So Rebecca Schofield, the university professor, sued this girl, Ashley Gillard. Is it Gillard? I don't know which way you pronounce it. Sued the TikToker, and the TikToker doubled and tripled down and started making all kinds of other TikToks about how about how now she's being harassed, and how she is not stopping. So, but in the background, I talked about this with the other lawsuits that I've been talking about on YouTube, where this person comes out and starts making all kinds of accusations, and then saying that she's being defamed, and then says that she's going to sue all these people, and then she doesn't even follow through on her side of the on the back end. She makes this big show on YouTube, and then isn't even able to prosecute in the courts representing herself. Well, we got a similar situation here. This girl, Ashley, on TikTok, talks a big game, but then when push came to shove in the courts, she never responded to this lawsuit, and the professor was able to file a motion for a default judgment, and the default judgment came in, and she won the case. Rebecca Schofield, the professor, won the case by default because Ashley, the TikToker, never responded, or at least didn't respond on time. So at this point, Rebecca Schofield has, I know it's freaking crazy, grannies watching. It's freaking crazy. So um so Rebecca Schofield, the professor, has now put in a motion to for a default judgment for over 1.8 million dollars against this TikToker. So in the meantime, this TikToker has now countersued the professor, and she's representing herself. And I'm going to go through some of this paperwork. Hello, Violet. I'm going to go through some of this paperwork and read through a little bit of it, because it just to show you how this is just yet another example to me of how what social media does to incentivize people to um, put on this mask of larping as a professional so and so. So this girl on TikTok larped as a psychic, and then she larped as a psychic investigator. And if you don't know what larp is live action role play. It's a gaming term. It's a term where you say, I'm going to I'm going to reenact Mario Brothers in real life. Okay? But what people are doing on social media is larping as professionals. Okay? Not having any freaking clue what it entails to be that professional. So I'm going to LARP as a psychic. I'm going to LARP as a private investigator. And now this woman, Ashley, is LARPing as as her own lawyer. And I have to say, she is a little written than other LARPers I've seen in this realm, and people I've covered in this realm. But she comes across just as crazy and unhinged and completely unself-aware of her actions and how and the consequences of her actions. When you come on to social media and you take a stand, understand that when you become a social media, influencer, and you develop a following, you become a public figure. And that means that you're putting your hat in the ring to be criticized. And if you are criticized, people get to criticize you, and they also get to call you names if they want to. They don't get to outright lie about you. But what this woman actually did on TikTok, and I'm going to show you right now, is she didn't there's certain types of defamation. There's defamation that in the legal sense, you have to prove that the lies harmed your reputation. But then there is something called defamation per se, where you do not have to prove that the defamation caused damage to your reputation, that the lies are so terrible on their face that you don't have to prove any damages. It's called defamation per se. And what this woman, what this woman, Ashley, did was no question defamation per se, because she said over and over and over again that this woman ordered the killings because she was in love with a couple of the students and blah 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 blah. It's absolutely bonkers. So let's take a look at some of this stuff. You say here, fortunately, many do outright lie about you. I love when people are taken to court over social media. I know it's crazy. People will, even if you've never, people will make stuff up about you and think that it's totally okay to do. And in some cases, I don't know. I've never been the type of person to just come up and make up lies about people. Just, I think I'll just lie about this person just to see if, it'll catch wind. I've just never been that kind of person. But look at the kinds of things that this girl was saying. Okay. This one right here.
Brief synopsis of who killed the University of Idaho college students and why. Their murder was ordered by Rebecca Schofield. Her targets were Kaylee and Madison. Rebecca was highly interested in Kaylee. She spent a lot of time fantasizing and thinking about her. They may have had some sort of fling, but ultimately, because of stubbornness and inability to see eye to eye, they broke it off. When they broke it off, Kaylee and Madison was seen together. This is the teacher who potentially had.
You hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? She said that they had a potential fling, and so the murder was ordered. Let's see here. And she's not backing off. She's doubling down. What's this one?
Somebody told me there's a video claiming that I'm spreading false information. I just want you to stand on that when the truth come out. Don't delete it. Stand on it. Somebody told me there's a video claiming that I'm spreading.
Earthkeeper, you do have to prove damage to your reputation and financial loss unless the lie is so terrible, unless you lie about someone committing an actual crime like murder. If you lie about somebody committing a crime like murder, and it can be proven that you did that knowing, with enough knowledge that that couldn't have happened, then you don't have to prove damage to your reputation and financial loss. That in and of itself, anybody would lose your reputation and and suffer financial loss if you're accused of being a murderer, right? If you're accused of ordering the murders after having a love affair with if you're accused of having a love affair with a college student as a professor, I mean, come on, right? Let's see. I think that's the one I just played. Let's watch this one. Now, she didn't only accuse this professor. She also accused Jack DeCoeur, Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. All right.
The reason why they called Jack 10 times the night of the murder is because they saw something moving. And intuitively, it was her intuition who told her it was Jack. So they called him that many times because they think they saw him. And they did. He didn't answer because he was in the middle of their murder.
Sorry, I was muted. He was in the middle of the murder. That's why they called him. He didn't answer because he was in the middle of the murder.
When Rebecca Schofield, the one who murdered the 4 Idaho college students, see my videos, she's going to realize that it's very hard to outrun consequences of her actions because they seem to never stop.
You see, she's not just saying this might have happened. I'm putting some pieces together. And she's barely even bringing up that, she's doing this based on some psychic abilities. She is saying this definitively, and she's doubling and tripling down. Okay. What's this one? Yeah, this is.
These are the 2 people who partnered to kill the 4 University of Idaho college students. Rebecca Schofield, associate professor and chair of the history department, and Jack DeCoeur, Kaylee's ex. These are the 2 people who partnered to kill the 4 University.
They partnered. So not only did Rebecca Schofield, this professor, have a lot on the line because she's a professor at that university, but so does Jack, this kid who, let's be fair, he wasn't just accused by this TikToker. He's been accused by a lot of people. He has a case as well. So those all those TikToks were done before what's his name was picked up. Let's see what in this one.
People keep asking, where did Rebecca Schofield come from? Like, how did I get her name? No, I do not just get random names.
She even continued to double down after Koberger was arrested. Okay. So she didn't stop. So now, then again, as I said, Schofield sued her, and she went on this rampage on her page of, talking about how Schofield shouldn't have been able to sue her and why she was right about it, and talked this big game, and then didn't respond to the lawsuit. And then, as I said, the judgment was filed against her. She is an adjudicated defamer. And then she filed this counterclaim, which is bonkers. Okay. So let me grab this for you. So this is the counterclaims in this case. These are and I'm not, I can assure you this is her filing this. She's filing it pro se on her own, representing herself. And I'm not going to show you her name because it doxes her address, and I don't want to do that. But you can look it up yourself. It's easy to find. So let's read through this. I'm going to minimize myself a little bit so it's easier for you guys to see this. All right. On December 21st, and she filed this after the judgment was filed against her that she did defame. Okay. So she was already an adjudicated defamer, and then she filed this. As for below, Rebecca Schofield and attorneys, lots of grammatical errors in here, with Stoll Revis, LLP, Boise, Idaho, blah, 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 filed a complaint against Ashley Giard, notwithstanding the fact that the claims are false, defamatory, and with the intent to obstruct justice for the case of the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students. So I'm sorry, every time she makes an accusation, I think to myself, your actions, everything you accuse this woman of, you did 1,000-fold. So the self-reflection and the lack of self-reflection here is mind-boggling. Okay. Ashley Giard was the only person aware of Rebecca Schofield's role in the murder. So she's tripling down in her sworn document in her filing. Role in the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students who spoke up about it. To stop Ashley Giard from promulgating her testimony of Rebecca Schofield's role in the murders and to get away with murder. What? Rebecca Schofield and her attorney Wendy J. Olson, blah, 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 filed a frivolous, perjurious, and defamatory complaint against Ashley Giard. The attorney and Rebecca collectively executed a strategy to discredit, embarrass, humiliate, and assassinate Ashley's character by disseminating false statements in a press release that was disseminated worldwide and to most of the major news outlets across America beginning late December and continuing into January. The false statements made by Wendy J. Olson and Rebecca Schofield include a false statement that Ashley Giard decided to use the community's pain for her online self-promotion. That can be an opinion, which is actually, I would agree with. She did. She profited from the pain of these murders. And many people are doing that. And it is sick. And if you do just a simple Google search on, Idaho 4 murders and social media, you'll see a boatload of coverage, mainstream news coverage that says the online, the sleuthing is going too far. Now, some of that could be a little bit of, mainstream news jealousy because there's so much, so much traction on social media. And that might be taking away from the mainstream media, but I agree with their takes on it. So let me keep reading for you. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. A false statement that Ashley Gayard made false statement about Rebecca Schofield knowing they were false. A false statement that blah, blah, blah. She's talking about all these false statements that they say that she made. A false statement that Ashley Gayard undermined law enforcement efforts. A false statement that Ashley Gayard compounded the trauma that the families and the victims are experiencing. That's not a false statement. The false statements were spread by way of news media and social media to include blah, blah, blah. She lists all of the different news outlets that carried the news. La, 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 all kinds. Facebook user posts, Instagram user posts, Reddit user articles, and, be careful what you ask for, Miss Ashley. Be careful what you ask for, because you came out and made explosive allegations about a private citizen. And this is what happens when you do that. When you make explosive false allegations about somebody and they sue you, and it's a high profile case, this is what happens. This was kicked off by what you did. Okay? You are not a victim, girl. She lists all these the outlets that placed articles, then says the false statements on the frivolous lawsuit and press release initiated by Rebecca Schofield and the attorneys influenced and incited an online riot against Ashley Gayard with over 20,000 negative comments across social media platforms, a massive amount of cyberbullying, death threats, harassment to Ashley Gayard's family and friends by way of messages from strangers seeking to have Ashley Gayard's son taken from her, to have her committed or psychiatric facility, and to have her arrested. So I'm wondering, how did she think that her statements against Rebecca Schofield were going to, she thought that nobody was going to react to that and there was no blowback to the professor, that the professor didn't experience any of that same online rioting, because I know that this girl did amass a big following on TikTok by doing this. She already had some kind of following on TikTok, and then she grew her following by doing this insane rant about this professor, and grew off of those lies. And now she's like, oh my gosh, I made up all this stuff out of my, tarot cards, and I doubled and tripled down and I said all these reasons that it happened. And now, and there was probably an insane amount of backlash, and probably the professor was questioned, and probably people at the school were asking Professor Schofield if she had any involvements. And there were a lot of people online that believed this crazy lunatic on TikTok, because a lot of people believe things that are said on social media. So, oh my gosh. So unfortunately, when things start to blow up on social media and you do things that are wrong, things wrong happen to you as well. You don't even have to do anything wrong for wrong things to happen to you online. Unfortunately. All right. So then she says that they published that encouraged further defamation against Ashley Gayard, a YouTube personality iNabber who has over 933,000 subscribers, stated in a video he published titled "TikTok's Worst Psychic Ruined the Life of an Innocent Woman," diagnosed Ashley Gayard's mental state as nutty and falsely accused her of ruining an innocent woman's, assumingly Rebecca Schofield's, life, and suggested Ashley Gayard lose her freedom of speech. MEA Worldwide, an independent digital media company that claims to be one of the world's fastest growing entertainment news publishers with offices in the US and India, and that reaches hundreds of millions of people globally, wrote an article titled "Who is Ashley Gayard? Meet the Internet's Tarot Tubbs, who falsely accused professor for Idaho murders." So all of this brings to mind that if she is going to go out and accuse this professor of such a heinous crime, the burden of proof is on her to prove what she's saying. She never provided any proof whatsoever, just some psychic bullshit, right? And yet now she's claiming to be the victim of the backlash of her lies. And that is a personality, at least a personality disordered mind at work. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist, but so I can't diagnose, and I also hate putting labels on people. But there's seriously something wrong with someone who thinks that they could go out and make hours of, or at least many, many videos making shit up about an innocent person and then be completely caught off guard by the backlash of it. She talks about how Dr. Grande, a YouTube personality with over 1 million subscribers, also claims to be a licensed professional counselor of mental health and light, blah, blah, blah. Published a video YouTube called TikTok Psychic Uses Idaho Murders to Falsely Accuse Professor. Published in the description that Ashley Gillard made false claims she made about the 2022 Moscow, Idaho quadruple murder case, suggested Ashley Gillard doesn't put any thought into her videos, lacks critical thinking skills, makes bizarre statements, idiocy, and doesn't understand. So she's listing all of these things that hurt her feelings about what was said about her, but none of this is defamatory. And she's listing all of these statements by other people that came out of the fact that she's being sued, but none of these are specifically attributed to Rebecca Schofield, right? So when you get in, so she just keeps going on like that. Then you get to the parties, and she actually has the temerity to believe that she can sue the lawyers. Now, there's something called, I think it's called prosecutorial immunity, like lawyers who represent plaintiffs, lawyers who represent parties can't be sued in those actions. So this is ridiculous. So you see here that she's saying counterclaim defendant Wendy J. Olson is an attorney, former U.S. She is countersuing a former U.S. ADA. Okay. Are you kidding me? It'll be really interesting to see how this is responded to by the courts. It'll be so interesting to see. So what I will say is that this girl, Ashley, even though she's representing herself, did take the time to do the proper formatting. And looks like it's properly spell checked. There's grammatical errors, but she has literally no understanding of the law. She should have gotten a lawyer if she really wanted to do this. It's absolutely crazy. Now, here are the factual allegations. Ashley incorporates by reference her references to all prior blah, blah, blah. Rebecca Schofield filed a frivolous, perjurious claim alleging that Ashley Gillard defamed her with full knowledge that the statements Ashley Gillard made about her are substantially true, with the intent to evade suspicion and to obstruct justice pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 1510 by preventing suspicion and to avoid criminal investigation into her role in the murders. So in these documents, she's saying, I know, you guys, this actually did happen. She really did kill these people. She really did have a role in this situation. And she just filed this lawsuit against me to obstruct justice. So the unmitigated freaking gall of this young woman is unbelievable. Unfortunately, we're seeing how social media helps that out. This, everyone deserves a voice on social media. Everyone deserves a voice. Not everyone deserves to get paid for that voice. Not everyone deserves to get build an audience on that voice, but that's what social media does for every voice, no matter whether they're lying sacks of what. Okay? In 14, the attorneys filed a perjurious claim alleging that Ashley defamed Rebecca Schofield with full knowledge. So they cannot be sued for filing a claim for their client. Ridiculous. More talking about perjurious claims filed by lawyers. There's another. Yahoo News quoted Wendy Olson's statement. Ms. Giard has continued to make false statements knowing they are false. Wendy J. Olson made a statement on Fox News Digital and was subsequently quoted on other media outlets stating the statements of Ashley Giard made about Professor Schofield are false, plain and simple. Attorney Wendy J. Olson told Fox News Digital, what's even worse is that these untrue statements create safety issues for the professor and her family. Right. Attorney Wendy J. Olson published those false statements with malice, without proof, and without regard to the truth or falsity of the statements, with the purpose of defaming and embarrassing Ashley Giard, evading suspicion and criminal investigation of Rebecca. So, girl, that this woman did not commit any murders. And yet you came out and said it. And so you were clearly out to embarrass or something this woman. That you thought, you found this woman on the university website. You made up some story thinking that she's just some, far off character. She's not a human being. She, for whatever reason, you decided she would be immune to the safety issues that you're creating by accusing her of being a murderer. And so you created this whole thing about her, and now you're like, oh my God, how come I have to have consequences from this? Still talks about publishing false statements, a false statement that Ashley Giard damaged Rebecca Schofield's reputation, and a false statement that Ashley Giard undermined law enforcement's efforts to solve the murder. It's true. When you go out there and make such a broad, baseless claim, you do divert law enforcement resources in dealing with all that stuff. Then she goes on to continue citing all kinds of more news outlets that covered this because it was such a ridiculous thing and it's such a high profile case. And now she's praying for relief in the rest of it. So Wendy J. Olson made a statement on news media outlets that was subsequently quoted on other news media outlets, stating that statements Ashley Giard made about Professor Schofield are false, plain and simple. So she's just going through and repeating that, news reports. She's definitely lost the plot. By the way, if you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe button. Please consider supporting the channel by becoming a member. On November 23rd, 2022, the Moscow Police Department made a public statement. Tips. Detectives are looking for context. This part really got to me, okay? Detectives are looking for context to the events and people involved in these murders. Anyone who observed notable behavior, has video surveillance, or can provide relevant information is asked to call the tip line, email tip line, or upload digital media. to the FBI line, right? Ashley Guillard's videos and statements regarding the murder of the 4 students and potential murders were made after this statement. So she's basically saying, hey, it's your fault. And you know what? Alex Murdaugh does this in his testimony today too. So if she's saying in this statement, you asked for information, we asked for information to be sent privately to the tip line, not for you to come out on your highly followed TikTok page and make statements as if they're true about a private citizen. And unfortunately, that's the way a lot of true crime sleuthers interpreted the request to come forward with information. They took it as a invitation to dig deep into people's lives. Do you know that there is a Facebook group with something like over 200 right now? I don't know, like 250, 60, 70,000 people in it. And they're just digging through anybody's life that is anywhere near Moscow, Idaho, and coming up with none of these people have, are private investigators. They don't know what the hell they're doing, but they've watched a few true crime videos. They've watched some true crime documentaries, and all of a sudden they're these amazing sleuthers. And they're coming up with all these theories, and they think that the way to get that information to law enforcement is by putting it on their, new YouTube video or their new TikTok. No, they're asking for the tips to be submitted to them so they can process them. All right. And Alec Murdaugh did that in testimony today. The lawyer asked him a question, and at a certain point, he was like, well, you asked me, that's how you were asking me the question. You were asking me that way. It always goes back on the other person. It's extremely manipulative. You asked me for this. No, I didn't ask you for this. I asked you specifically to do that. Right? So let's see. On December 7th, 2022, the Moscow Police Department made a public statement seeking more information. Your information, whether you believe it's significant or not, might be the piece of the puzzle that helps investigators solve these murders. Ashley Guillard's videos and statements regarding the murder of the 4 students and potential murders were made to help provide information. But you then send them into the tip line. You have to understand the difference between private communication and public defamatory statements. And if you are not willing to take the consequences of your public statements on a public platform, you do not belong on a public platform. Sitting here on your social media talking is not the same as just sitting here talking to your friend. Okay? There's a very big difference. And sometimes I go into live streams and I hear there's like 15 people on panel, and they're talking to each other as if they're sitting there at a fucking card game, at a poker game. They're saying the nastiest shit about other people. They're saying disgusting, horrible, awful things about people as if there are 4 walls around them, and as if some kid couldn't walk into that conversation at any moment's notice. No, these are public platforms that anybody can access. And if I think every person who wants to grow their YouTube channel has to get past that point of understanding that there are consequences to the things you do and say using your public platform. And we learn it in many different ways. Some learn it in smaller ways. Some learn it in extremely high profile ways. And that's what's happening to this girl, Ashley Guillard. After the lawsuit was filed, law enforcement did not make a statement to Ashley Guillard or otherwise that Ashley Guillard undermined their efforts. Because that's what they would do, right? The videos and statements Ashley Guillard made regarding the murder of 4 students was to help law enforcement get answers. No, it wasn't. You went out and just made statements as if they were true. More just baseless claims. Okay, here's where we get to the harm that was felt by Miss Giard. Attorney Wendy Olson's defamatory statements about Ashley Giard stifled her work performance, damaged her reputation, and resulted in a loss of service and revenue. Oh, really? Prior to the allegations, Ashley Giard was helping a mother get details regarding the R and SH of her 6-year-old daughter by, my God. Okay, she starts to list off all the things that she was doing in her psychic work to help other people, and I feel horrible for those other people she says she was helping, because she clearly doesn't have the ability that she says that she has. She's clearly in my opinion, a scammer, a liar, using social media to further her gains. Okay. But listen to the people that she says she was helping. Prior to the allegations, Ashley Giard was helping this mother, helping her 6-year-old from close family member, helping a sister get details regarding the unsolved murder of her brother, helping a woman decide on a course of action to get justice for a SA in her past, helping a daughter get details on the murder of her father, helping a wife perceive the ramifications of a divorce or continued marriage, and more. And you know what I say to Rebecca Schofield for stopping this woman from doing that? Thank you. Thank you. For if you put a stop to this woman representing to people that she can help them with all these things, I so appreciate that you put a stop to that ridiculousness. If the truth was told, Ashley Giard would have been able to serve more people, to include helping to solve to include helping to solve the murders of musician Krishnik Karibal, aka Takeoff, Shakella Robinson, Tiffany Valiente, Kevin Samuels, and Tamla Horsford. No, you are delusional. You are delusional. Attorney Wendy Olson's defamatory allegation to the media about Ashley Giard undermined law enforcement's efforts, was made without evidence, with malice, and without regard to. So she's saying this after somebody has been arrested for these murders. So there is evidence that that she was wrong, right? Making public defamatory statements against the defendant and spreading false information on news media about a defendant is not an attorney duty prescribed by law that is protected by immunity or absolute privilege. Attorney Wendy Olson made those statements with malice outside of the setting of litigation. Oh, I mean, you cannot sue attorneys for making statements on behalf of their clients. Okay. Let's see. See if there's more here. I know there was at least one other thing that I thought was just another example of her insane delusion, unmitigated gall. Attorney Wendy Olson, in bad faith and malice, made defamatory statements to a worldwide audience of multi-millions of people about defendant Ashley Giard. That caused hardship and severe damage to Ashley Giard's character. No, you damaged your own character. Let's see. Rebecca Schofield and Wendy Olson published false statements that Ashley Giard compounded the trauma that the families of the victims were experiencing. True. Wendy J. Olson published false statements that Ashley Giard re-victimized the families of the slain students. Yep. Rebecca Schofield and Wendy J. Olson published those false statements without proof and without regard to the truth or falsity of the statement, with the sole purpose of defaming blah, 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 blah. The truth is the inverse. Ashley Giard worked tirelessly, passionately, and without pay to help the victim's family get justice. The false statements that Rebecca Schofield and attorney Wendy J. Olson published about Ashley Giard caused a mass shift in public opinion. Instead of acknowledging Ashley Giard for her help, Ashley Giard was ridiculed, harassed, shamed, humiliated, and falsely accused of lying. Nope. The burden of proof was on you to prove that you were not lying, that you could prove that these people were involved in the murders. You did not. This woman sued you. She got a default judgment against you. Now she's asked for $1.8 million in judgments against you. Doubtful you have that, but it would be a good symbol of the damage that can be caused by just coming out and just thinking that any social media platform can be used to lie on the backs of slain murder victims. Oh, here she misspells frivolous. She spells it frivolous. Frivolous. The court should exercise reasonable control over the mode and order of examining witnesses and preventing evidence so as to make these procedures effective, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what this is about. Ashley Giard no longer feels legally protected enough to use her knowledge to help with any more good. You should not be helping with cases. To include the case murder of University for harassment and frivolous claims against her. I'm very glad that you feel shut down by this case. I am interminably, is that a good word? I am extremely, extremely grateful that this woman, Rebecca Schofield, very quickly filed this lawsuit, that she had the means to do it, that she did it in the manner that she didn't. She didn't go out there and make a big deal out of it. She just said, this is wrong. I feel terrible for what that professor must have gone through in the wake of being accused like this. Let's see. The filing of the frivolous claims against Ashley and the mass disseminated press release by Rebecca Schofield and attorney Wendy J. Olson with false statements encouraged mass harassment against her pursuant to Idaho, blah, 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 blah. Ashley received harassing phone calls, emails, text messages. I wonder what Ashley thinks happened to the professor in the wake of being accused of murdering 4 college students. What do you think happened to that professor? And unfortunately, all the things that she lists happened to her are things that happen to practically anyone who becomes a public figure on social media. Unfortunately, it sucks, but it's true. The filing of the frivolous claims and the mass disseminated press release caused harassment by the initiation of a petition to have her arrested that was signed by over 10,000 people on change.org. Yeah, well, unfortunately, you can't arrest people for defamatory statements. And that's one thing I'm going to say. I don't know if any of you have seen that there's this guy who came out and claimed that Dylan is trans and that she was attacked and made all these ridiculous statements, was interviewed by Lana on Truth and Transparency, said all this terrible stuff. Gosh, what was the point I was going to make on that? Shoot. Sorry. I lost the point I was going to make on that. Well, I know that Granny's watching is going to be doing a live about this. I don't know if she's rescheduled it or anything. I don't know if you're still here, Granny, but I noticed you're doing a live about this not too long from now. And I forgot the point I was going to make, but anyway, Maybe it'll come back to me. Sorry, y'all. Anyway. Initiation of a petition to have her arrested. Oh, right. So this guy comes out and makes all these horrible statements about Dylan, and then Truth and Transparency comes out and exposes all this stuff and then says, why isn't all this stuff taken down? Why isn't he being arrested? Her whole chat saying, why isn't he being arrested? And I want to remind you that these are true crimers. These are people who are supposed to understand. They pick apart the law. They pick apart the legal documents and law enforcement protocols and procedures. You can't be arrested for defamation, you guys. You can't be arrested for making YouTube videos. And there was all this question about why weren't these defamatory videos automatically just taken down? If it wasn't true, then the videos would already be taken down. Actually, no. You know that this girl Ashley's videos are still there on TikTok. Now, YouTube is different. Yes, YouTube is very different, right? These people know full well that YouTube doesn't always act on reports. YouTube rarely takes action on defamatory content. In fact, that channel that's saying, why wasn't the content just automatically taken down, posted nudity on her channel. She knew she posted nudity on her channel. People reported it for days. People went into her comments and asked her to take it down for days, and it wasn't removed. And I personally called a friend at Google to have it removed, to have it escalated. I have this proof. I have the proof of my email. I have the proof of them saying it was escalated and YouTube removed it. They know that sometimes YouTube is too bogged down with all the other, with the 1.2 billion users and everybody making all this BS content up, to deal with every single issue right away. So you can't arrest somebody for making defamatory content on YouTube. That's my main point here. All right. Let's just see if there's anything more. Prayer for release. Okay, these prayer for relief are incredible. This is what she's asking for. Okay. Mass press release with a statement that Ashley Giard approves to every news outlet that this lawsuit was covered, and to social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, and all others that it was covered on, correcting the false claims made against Ashley Giard. No. What you need to do, girl, is do that for Rebecca Schofield. You are the one who has been adjudicated as a defamer. You lied. You need to put out the mass press release apologizing. Hey, Oz. I'll never forget what Oriani did to you, Miss Lynn, having to do with an interview you did. Yes. And I've had people come into my comments and have the gall to say, oh, TNT isn't cruel. She's not a cruel person. I'm sorry, but I've never seen a person spew as much cruelty as that human being. True story. So, so she wants a mass press release in every news outlet this lawsuit has covered to social media outlets, I want compensatory and punitive damages in an amount determined by the judge, attorney, and court fees that may arise now or in the future, or any action. This woman is freaking delusional. I mean, y'all, I am, I guess it just never ceases to amaze me how much social media both exposes us to these delusional creatures, but also gives the delusion a voice and gives them an opportunity to make um money off of these delusions, and a lot of times the delusions amount to harming real people, and it sucks. I actually took the screenshot of LO showing nudity and sent it to everyone blurred. Yeah. I have that screenshot too. I have the screenshot of the nudity. I have it showing that it was on her channel. And I have the email that I sent to my friend saying, can you please help? Because, but I'm going to say this as well. The person whose nudity she showed apparently at this point doesn't care, even though she thanked me at the time that I got it taken down. So, yeah. Here's the thing. Oz, you're saying I'd say Elo and this chick are definitely comparable in many ways. There are a lot of people like these two women. It's just that social media, like the algorithm, is also like them. Social media is like a party to the toxic system and amplifies them. Anybody who's willing to be a skillful manipulator and liar is going to get help from social media. So that's what they have in common. So that's what we all just have to look out for. It's just a new world of being able to be aware that there are people who are absolutely skillful manipulators and con artists, and for us not to get taken advantage of, we need to understand how to look out for that. And I plan to actually start doing videos talking about how these kinds of manipulators actually use YouTube tools for their manipulation. I mean, it's one thing to just be manipulative in your words and your actions, but it's another to actually use the tools of YouTube and social media in that manipulation. So I plan to do that. I had a live scheduled, a members only live scheduled for today that I have pushed off to tomorrow. I need to get caught up on some. Thank you, Ben Dreamin. I'm doing a members only live tomorrow. I want to get caught up on some true crime cases that I've been following since the beginning, but I haven't caught up in a while, and both of them are coming to court soon. It's the Daybell Vallow case and the Gabby Petito case. Both of them are close to my heart. Both of them have court dates in the near future, and I want to make sure I'm up to date on those. And both of them have significant social media situations involved as well. So I just wanted you guys to like almost kind of be dumbfounded with me about about the amazing delusion that can occur with the help of social media. If social media didn't exist, I don't think that this would have happened with this Ashley Gillard and this Rebecca Schofield. Right? She wouldn't have found an audience and a voice to do it. She wouldn't have found an incentive to do those things. So I just want to thank you all for being here. Please, again, consider becoming a member. Hit the thumbs up, and I will see you around town. Okay? Peace out.